I'm Ben Spicer here at historic Spartan Municipal Stadium in Portsmouth, Ohio, the former home of an NFL team now known as the Detroit Lions, a team that's close and dear to my heart. This is my hometown team. I've got family from Portsmouth, grew up in the Portsmouth area, so this is an exciting first video of spiced up stadium tours.
Yeah, it's true. Portsmouth, Ohio used to have a team in the NFL. It seems crazy to say, but the league was a whole lot different back then. While you may recognize the names of some of Portsmouth's opponents back in the day, like the Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers, most teams in the early NFL did not survive. Back then, though, the process to start a team was pretty easy. Franchises could be acquired for as little as $500 and a $2,500 deposit at the league office. The Spartans weren't the first organized football team in the city. Others had emerged first, like Smokehouse, the Portsmouth Presidents, the Portsmouth Merchants, and the Portsmouth Shoe Steals. Smokehouse can be credited with the birth of football in the city dating back to as early as 1912. Smokehouse was a popular Portsmouth tobacco shop and apparently was the place to be back in the day, with a cigar store, pool hall, and a venue that provided its patrons with the latest sports news and scores that they pulled from news wires and radio. One member of Smokehouse ultimately played a big role in the addition of other teams in the area. Jack Creasy played with the team in its last year of existence, then was integral in the formation of the Presidents and eventually the Shoe Steals. With the Shoe Steals, he was credited with the signing of football legend Jim Thorpe to be a player coach. Thorpe was 40 at the time and had played for 8 different NFL teams. Unfortunately, Creasy died in 1928 when he was stricken with appendicitis, complicated by endocarditis, and the developed pneumonia, dying at the age of 26. That led to the disintegration of the Shoe Steals and the ultimate formation of the Spartans. 50 businessmen and some fans converged at the Hearth Hotel to create a board to manage the team, and after a community vote, the new team was called the Portsmouth Spartans. The Spartans became a team wearing purple and gold, a uniform combination I just love. And maybe it's the Lions fan in me, but man, those uniforms look so much better than yours, Minnesota. The community continued to push for a new stadium, but the referendum resulted in a loss 3 times, even despite these beautifully illustrated advertisements in the Portsmouth Daily Times. Seriously, how could you say no to these? Come on. Then the man himself, Harry Snyder, opted to become the primary investor, but said he would only do so if the team was able to join the NFL. Universal Stadium came to be in the summer of 1930. The team then joined the NFL and played in several noteworthy games. It was not Cleveland or Cincinnati that hosted Ohio's first football night game, but instead Portsmouth. The Spartans did not play in the NFL's first ever night game, but were one of the first. Their opponent was the Brooklyn Dodgers. Yeah, they weren't too creative with the names back then. That game was played in front of 6,500 fans. Then you have the famed Iron Man game against Green Bay that was played at Spartan Stadium in 1932. Head coach Posty Clark refused to make a substitution against the defending champ Packers, winning the game 19-0, playing the same 11 players all game. And a 19-0 win back then, that seems like it would be like a 50-0 win today. Maybe I just wanted to throw some shade at Green Bay real quick. You know, the Lions fan in me after all. I love the newspaper articles too from this time because the reporters always had some amazing quotes. Here's one I liked. No longer are the Green Bay Packers the cheese champions of the National League. They are merely ex-champions shelved for good after a long reign. That is awesome. After that season, the team was tied for first in the NFL with the Chicago Bears, which led to what became known as the first NFL playoff game, which was a 9-0 Chicago win. While the team had support, the game was not what we know it as today. Teams and players had to travel by train or car, depending on what was available to them. In the first NFL season, the Spartans were set to travel nearly 7,000 miles for 38 days through 12 states, which cost about $85,000 total in payroll and travel, which today would equal out to about $1.5 million, according to one online inflation calculator. Each year the Spartans were in the NFL, they lost money. They lost $27,000 in 1930, $16K in 1931, $5 in 1932, and $14 in 1933. One year they couldn't even afford salaries, so they paid players in stock options. That led to the ultimate move, of course, to Detroit in 1934. Universal Stadium was renamed to Spartan Municipal Stadium in 1970. In 2003, it was designated as a state historical site. Spartan Stadium still hosts the Notre Dame Titans, a local private Catholic school in the city. It had also been used by the Portsmouth Trojans up until 2009, when the school got a new on-campus stadium. The venue has hosted events and other athletic competitions too. Most recently, Spartan Stadium has been used during the summer by the semi-pro football team, Port City Spartans. Spartan Stadium has undergone renovations recently thanks to some active community members who are seeking to keep the tradition and lore of the stadium alive. Well, it's been almost 90 years since the move to Detroit. The spirit of the Spartans lives on in Portsmouth. Lately, though, there's been a lot of discussion on what the future holds for Spartan Stadium. During the last Portsmouth City Council meeting, members looked at two ordinances to address some issues with the stadium. The first proposed ordinance, which totals $7,300, would cover the costs of electric repairs, and the second, for $52,800, would go to maintenance like painting and plumbing, as well as new bleachers, track, a press box, and potentially AstroTurf. The first ordinance passed 6-0, but the second ordinance was voted to be reduced to $7,000. It would pass 5-1. One councilman actually predicted all those potential upgrades we just mentioned and more could total around $5 million. So for now, the city plans to look into Ohio's grant programs. I hope you enjoyed this video, the first ever in the Spiced Up Productions Stadium Tour. Be sure to like and subscribe as we take you inside some of the best stadiums in the country.